Cheers, YouTube! Oh, yes. Enjoying some of my pineapple cider from the Cider House Select. Talked about that in the last video. In my Omengang glass. Beautiful. I love their glassware. I like the beers. I love it all. Anyway, this is kind of exciting. We're here. We made it. And guess what? This is the first brew day! On the new system. Got the vent hood set up. We've got the Spike Brewing kettles ready to roll. The water is in here. You can actually see the, it's like condensating because it's pretty chilly. So valves are closed. Make sure your valves are closed. And I figure we'll talk some stuff over, but let's get this heating up. We're going to be doing Joe's Evil Amarillo IPA. And the reason I called it that, it was a complete whim. I wound up punching in. We're using Galena and Amarillo hops in there. And no joke, the IBUs are 66.6. So I was like, well, this is perfect. It's evil. It's meant to be. So yeah, we're going to be mashing it. At 163 Fahrenheit. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and just get the system heating up. So without further ado, here we go. Power on. We've got our probe inserted in here. The kettle is plugged in, so yeah. Pop on our heat. It's now going. I'm going to dial the controller here down to the 164-ish. So there we go. Now we'll just let it go. So what we're going to do is, obviously, we're doing our brew day, and the tally has been calculated. In a previous video, I had asked what folks were looking for, what you wanted your first brew day to be, you know, to see on the new system here. And number one was an IPA. It won by, it had 13 individual people make a note of it, so that's what we went with. Hence the Evil Amarillo IPA. I love Amarillo, so I was like, yeah, this is perfect. So the malt bill in here, 12 pounds of Great Western Organic 2-row, a pound of caramel 40, and that's it. And then we're going to have an ounce of Galena for 60, an ounce of Amarillo for 30, and an ounce of Amarillo for 5. Call it a day. Fermenting with USO5 yeast for a 5-gallon batch. Should be groovy. So this is number one, our first brew day. Thank you, YouTube, for recommending doing an IPA. I haven't done one in a long time, so this will be cool. Next up, there was a 3-way tie for the next spot. So that's going to be the next couple brews. A Saison, a double IPA, which I might not do since we're doing an IPA and I'm not a big hop head. We'll see how I'm feeling. And then a stout. So definitely the Saison and the stout, and quite possibly the double IPA are going to be the next ones coming up. So thank you again for making your recommendations. And yeah, so as it's heating up here, power's on. It's going into this Spike Brew kettle here. This is the 10-gallon boil kettle. If you're just now tuning into this series, check back at the beginning. We did a whole build on this based upon Spike Brewing reached out to me to do a review of their products. And so they sent me 2 custom kettles. One that I've turned into a mash tun, which you would use, whoops, I'll get this here. The false bottom for, I need to get that installed. And then the boil kettle, which they custom welded a 1.5-inch tri-clamp in the back that we've got a 550-watt electric heating element in. And now it's being controlled by our electrical controller here, which my friend Erik helped me build. Well, he actually built it. I just kind of drank beers and tried to help out as best I could. So thank you, Erik. You are awesome, man. And yeah, so here we've done some boil tests. This is going to be our first brew day. So we've got our mash tun, our boil kettle, and hot liquor tank. So it's going to be a 2-vessel recirculating system. We've got, I'm not sure if you can see here on the back wall, but we've got my silicone high temp hoses, as well as the garden hoses to connect to the water supply for chilling. And that was one thing I had to kind of, well, 2 things I had to figure out. One, because I had an electric boil element in there, my 2-coil wort chillers weren't going to work unless I modified them in some way. And I've been looking at upgrading this for a long time anyway, so I sprung for a Therminator. A Blickman Therminator that I put quick connects on the wort side. The bottom 2, which are the water hose hookups, are still just standard water hose, and you can fit in just fine there. on the output here, and I picked this up off Erik's brew setup as well, I put an inline dial thermometer, so that way we can watch the temperature delta. As soon as it goes, it's going to drop down, and the therminator should chill our 5-gallon batch down in absolutely no time. A little bit further down here, and I know this is getting towards the bottom of the screen, but this is our pump. I've got it set up vertically, so the output is on the top, input is on the bottom. It's a March 815 brewery, homebrew pump with the polysulfone head. I would have preferred the stainless, but I figured out how to thread on these metal fittings onto the plastic, and I didn't screw it up, so can't beat that. And yeah, so that's the system. We've got our controller, we've got our GFI here, the electrics run into the next room here, which is where my dryer is. Mash tun, boil kettle, all electric, therminator to chill things down. We've got our pump to recirculate everything. Hoses, we'll get that all connected up here in a second. And then our vent hood. My last video, I'm sure you saw, I finally figured out a way to vent all this steam out of here. I am in my basement, and it steams a lot down here. So we were setting off alarms with the boil test. I'm not sure if you can see here, but the ceiling is just an unfinished plywood, and it was getting spongy. So I was like, this isn't gonna work. This is gonna be bad if I do this a lot. So put in a big old vent hood. This sucker's a 440 CFM inline blower fan, duct fan. It kicks, so it's going to pull everything out. I fortified it. It was a little leaky in the last video. We'll see if I fixed it. And I've already gotten some emails about this. My stand for my mash tun. Well, believe it or not, it's just a galvanized trash can. It fit the bottom of the Spike kettle here perfectly. So I was like, well, hell, this is meant to be. And you can see there's absolutely no wiggle. Up, down, sideways. You can rotate it, of course. But the bottom of the Spike kettles are sort of graduated. I'm not sure you can see that there. You see right there? Goes down. It fits right inside the lip on the base of the trash can. So, boom. Done. that was meant to be. And this actually is the lid to said trash can. The vent hood. So, use what you got, right? I was just trying stuff out. I was like, well, we'll see if this even works. Worked great, so that's what we're going to do. You can see the condensation is all gone now. We're already at 87 degrees just since we started talking. So it's picking up steam. We are going to move the camera around a little bit. I've got to get the false bottom installed up here, as well as the floater arm for the auto sparge. But we'll get that in place, and we'll get to pumping, we'll get to recirculating here. So see you in just a second. Okay, so we are up to temp. I set it to 165. I went up and bumped it up a degree. I figure it's probably going to lose some, of course. It's cool metal, so might as well warm it up a bit. And we could certainly begin recirculating through, but what I was just going to show you here is, these two are already connected, and the quick connects I've got, so there's like a little, the male nipple there, and then you've got these. They're almost like a big ball lock. That you'd see with a keg, so you just, or like air hookup hose, you just pop it on, just like that. Super easy to put together. And so yeah, now that we're up to temp, I'm going to pop this one off, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump the water up to the top. We're going to dough in our grains, and then everything I've read about like the Brew Easy system, which is kind of what I modeled this after, is that you want to let the grain sit for about 5 or 10 minutes to absorb the hot water and purge out any air bubbles it may have. It'll also help the grain bed kind of compact a little bit. So I also grabbed a cup, and my thoughts were going to run a couple pints off just to see if there's a whole lot of grain coming through. If there are, we'll catch it there, so that way it doesn't even have to get sucked back out of the boil kettle. Even though that's the whole point of this system, is that it just sits there and recirculates. So yeah, let's do this. So we've got our pump hooked up. I've got this full open. Closed valve, of course. Closed valve. Yeah, let's see. How am I going to do this? We'll pop this one open. Get it primed. Okay, I see some water here. So as soon as we hit the pump, we should hear water start to spray out the top here. There it goes. away it goes. I should check how much we're doing in, huh? How much we need for the mash. So I don't have the arm installed here, but you see how it's flowing out. This here's where most of the water's coming through. Whoop. As I make it mad. Yeah, most of the water's popping out through that hose right there. We're filling it up. I've got the valve here closed, so we're just filling it up right now to mash in our grains. This is exciting, huh? Okay, I'm nervous. Here we go. I'm just going to keep adding them until I start to see some start to float. They're all falling in kind of nicely here. You know, I was wondering how I would do this with the floater ball, this thing. Oh, here we go. This thing in there. That'd be kind of a bear. I'm not sure exactly if you know, you should add that after the fact, but I'm thinking that that might just be how we operate around here. I've got a little bit of, I'm a little bit shy of clearance with the ceiling right here. Alright, it's starting to stick up. Let's go ahead and get the rest of that put in. Beautiful. Set that aside for now. And we're gonna dough her in here. Looks good. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes and I realized I forgot something. My 5.2 stabilizer. Should have put that in to start off with. So we're just going to go ahead and add it now. It's going to recirculate, so this is going to do its trick. Or do its work. Pop that open there. Get that incorporated. And let's see, was that a tablespoon for 5 gallons? Yep, so we need just a dash more. Beautiful. You can see the steam going. Alright, so it's been a couple minutes, and I went ahead and installed that float ball in the mash tun. And let me pop up here. Smells good and looks good, so yeah, let's go ahead. Shall we run a couple things? Oh, see, it just kicked on. Need a little more heat. See how much grain comes out here, I don't know. I figure this can't hurt to help, you know, get it compacted a little bit. Just to get that first bit of crap out from the dip tube. That's my logic. Oh yeah, you can see some grains coming through there. I'm gonna grab my paper towel here. But yeah, you can see there some grains, so I'm just going to put those right back up top. And again, I know this isn't necessary. I know the whole point of the recirculation is to basically filter this for you. But I figured, why the hell not? We'll just go ahead and pull some. We'll see how bad it is. And if it helps mitigate a problem later on, groovy. Just take 2 seconds. Yeah, definitely less grain particles in there. Not sure if you can see that, but there's a lot less particles in there. I think I'm going to call that good. Call that good. So we're going to take our connection here, pop it on, pop it on. You know, this could be interesting. I'm going to pop this open. We're going to look inside here, see what happens. Here's where we're at up top. That's inside the kettle there. We haven't opened anything, so let's open this guy here. We're going to open this guy. I'm not quite sure how quickly we should do that. We'll just let it go. So it's going to bubble. So where it starts to come down there. Whoop. Welcome back. Get that drain. I'll open that one. See, it's just pulling those bubbles from this line rather than from inside there. So hopefully that helps keep any grain particles out. But yeah, you can see the wort is starting to pour through. Oh, and it felt the temperature change. According to our little probe, we're sitting at about 130 or so in the mash tun. Alright. This is exciting. So, because the valve there, you see how it's going down? This is going to control, as it sinks down, it'll pull it open, you know? You see that there? And we haven't set this, we haven't adjusted for it yet, so I'm not quite sure. It's probably not going to do anything. But you can see the drainage is going in there, causing that circulation. On this valve here, we've got a tangential inlet, or whatever they say, you know? Away it goes. Yeah, I don't see any grain particles like floating to the top, so that's good. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to adjust that ball up. Pump is active. I just activated the pump and we've got motion. So we're going to still need to adjust this. This needs to allow a couple inches of liquid across the whole top of the mash there. And you can see, should recirculate nicely. We're steaming up a little bit. We're close to the ceiling here, but you see how it's just pouring in there? That's what the auto sparge does, that little valve right there. Basically controls our liquor volume. And I love the most liquor I can get. As you can see, I raised the ball a little bit here, and now there's lots of liquid on the top there, so we're going to have to check to make sure that's enough. But the pump has slowed down, which means, or not the pump has slowed down, the flow has slowed down a little bit, which means this is being pressed in. Still got a nice whirlpool in there. And I got so preoccupied with this that I made my first mistake. My first mistake, of which I'm sure there are going to be many on this new system, and that would be I didn't reset the PID for the mash. So I had the probe still connected to here instead of up here, and then when I connected it up here, look at that, we're at 159, 158, 159 degrees incoming up here. Now I'm not worried about that because the mash here says we're at like 152, so in the grain bed. So I went ahead and just dialed that down to 152. I killed the heat just to make sure, but you turn it on, it's not gonna turn on because it knows that it's too hot. But yeah, so we're gonna mash at 152, so that's exactly where we need it to be. And yeah, mess up number one. So yeah, I'm gonna let this recirculate here for a few minutes and we're gonna check the liquid volume. But then essentially, as long as the liquid volume is good and the mash temperature there is correct, that is it. We will just literally let this recirculate now for an hour and then we'll dial up to do a mash out. I've never done that before. That's literally just taking this up to 168. Done. Then we'll drain it out and we'll start the boil. So, cool. If all goes well, I won't see you again until we shut everything off. If something goes wrong, you bet I'm going to grab the camera because, yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to screw something else up. So, we'll see you in a bit. Everything is looking good. The temperature is stabilizing. The hot liquor volume on top of the grain there is at about 1 inch. I figured that out by quickly dunking my finger in it. Very scientific. But I just wanted to take this moment while we're here mashing to thank Spike Brewing. Thank you, Ben, at Spike Brewing, for sending these kettles my way, arranging this, and making this happen. I am so excited to see these finally in operation here, and everything looks to be going exactly like I thought it would. And yeah, I just can't believe that they're finally working. So yes, thank you again to Spike Brewing for sending me these kettles to give a try and see how you know their quality lines up with everything, you know how the build goes. But man, I can't imagine that I'm not going to give these a 5-star review. I'm not going to do an official review quite yet until we have a couple brews, you know, under the belt, and you know, make sure that everything stacks up. But man, I just don't see how these kettles aren't going to be just a knock out of the ballpark. Ben and his team really know what they're doing, and they build heavy-duty, high-quality stuff. And the price, it can't be beat. It cannot be beat. So, thanks again, Ben. Thank you, Spike. This brew's for you, dude. So sometimes when you are learning a new system, a good, relatively strong drink certainly comes in handy. Oh man. So everything stabilized. Everything was going great. We're still mashing right now, by the way. Nothing. Oh, we haven't lost the batch or anything like that. But I learned something else, and this is something I probably should have researched a little bit more before just jumping into it. But so we have our liquid level. Perfect. Things are heating just fine. I found I had to throttle the pump down about halfway. It was just blowing so hard in here. It was shooting water. You can see worts all the way up there and stuff. So it was spraying a little hard. And so everything was circulating great. And I noticed that my temperatures, it fell, but then it spiked back up again, even though I dialed it into 152, which is the mash I was wanting. And well, I figured out why. So in my manual here, if I just would have given it a little bit deeper of a read, a little bit more in-depth review, I thought we had set the parameters here on the PID pretty darn well. But it just wasn't quite syncing up with the input being here on the mash tun. You know, at this point here. We had calibrated it for here in the boil kettle. So I noticed temperatures were spiking, was having some problems getting it kind of to lower. It wouldn't hit 152. It would hit like 155, 156, and kick back on. So problem solved. Guess what I did? I programmed the damn thing, and now you can see it is working absolutely perfectly. Absolutely, positively perfectly. And the way to do that on this PID controller anyway, they recommend running a thing called an auto tune. And what that is it's not it's not doing that. What it is doing is it will basically learn and set its own parameters based upon your target temps. And then it, I'm guessing, watches your temperature deltas and figures out how to control them based upon where your probe is, which is insane. That's so cool. So what I did, we got that plugged in, of course. The mash temperature is the most important to me, so I want this sucker to be calibrated absolutely perfectly. And that's what we did. Got that plugged in, and then ran the auto tune on here, which was super easy. I just had to go into, this is the layers of settings I can do. And it is oh hell, where was it? See, I'm already lost. Auto to AT, right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiers down in the programming scheme. We had to set it to 1 or 2 to start auto tuning, and I believe we set it to 1, which was the standard auto tune that doesn't disable your automatic and manual control override. Right now it's running in automatic mode. Of course I want the PID to control the heat, which it's doing just fine. You can see, I'll put my arm in the shadow there soon. 152 exact. As it senses something, it sends a little heat over, it shuts off as needed. But yeah, and then what we'll be able to do, and I learned this tip from another YouTuber who made a mention on my previous video when we were doing the boil test. Setting it into manual mode, I can control essentially how the power goes out of it. So if it operates, you know, say it runs for 10 seconds, if I wanted it 80% power, it will run for 8 of those 10 seconds. You know, it works like that. It's full on and off. It's not like a power gradient. So yeah, we're gonna switch it to manual mode when it comes time to the boil, but it needs to be an automatic mode for the mash, which of course you need to calibrate for your probe location within your brewery. That seems like the silliest thing that I could have missed, but I did. So hopefully if you're doing one of these, you won't miss that. So yep, we're rocking and rolling. I also just remembered one other thing that I forgot to mention. Now that we've got the temperature figured out, the probe is actually operating and calibrated correctly, and the pit is calibrated correctly. One thing with these recirculation systems is that you need to basically disturb the top third of the grain bed every 15 minutes or so. So 3 or 4 times throughout the mash, I'll go in and I'm going to spoon the top and just kind of disturb that top layer of grain. That's it. I just forgot to mention that, and I thought that'd be a good thing to mention, especially if anyone is kind of following in the tracks, building one of these systems along with me. Very important to do that so that way it doesn't cause channeling in the top. So yeah, you don't want the grain to kind of compact and then just seep down. So yep, just wanted to bring that up to you. I just stirred it for the first time, remembering it, and figured I would share. So all right, here's hoping we just make it to the boil now. So we're about 45 minutes into the mash, and I just noticed something interesting. The pit, of course, is operating beautifully, and I was like, 152. And we look here, 150. Question mark. So I stuck a probe thermometer down in the grain, like way deep in the grain to see. I'm gonna pull this up so it doesn't steam up, but whoop, of course I was too quick. I was too quick. We'll just wait for it to get another reading in. Or it wasn't quick enough, that's what I meant. Well, you can see the mash there, check that out. Looking beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna try to, let's position this. I don't know. Trying to find a place where I can get the light to it, because if I put the camera over it, as I found, it steams really bad. So let's see if I can zoom here. See that? It's like 151, almost 152. And I'm guessing that's probably dependent too upon where it is, you know. That side there is ducked down a little bit, 150. That's 150 right on. So it looks like we got a little bit of a temperature delta here going on, or is that what they call this, a delta? A little bit of a variance. So a couple degrees looks like between here, the actual grain bed, and the probe. So I meant to be mashing at 152. The liquid coming in is 152, but the grain bed seems to be losing about 2 degrees. Zoom back in there. So we're going to go ahead and bump this up just a hair. Not that it really matters at this point, you know. We'll do 154. We'll see where 154 takes us. But yeah, I just wanted to show you a little bit of a temperature delta there. I had a couple folks ask on YouTube if I should put the probe down here, you know, on the outport. And I suppose that could work, but I just wanted to make sure that the liquid going in the top was, you know, never going to be too hot. And so, so I went with that, and Blickman's setup is kind of similar to that. So yeah, look at that. Already up to 153. I tell you, with the electric, as soon as you touch that thing, it goes. Whoop. So we're probably going to have to wait a few for the there to be a noticeable difference in the grain bed temp. But so yeah, just wanted to give you a little heads up about that. So I'm going to pop this right back on the side here. We'll see what it says. I see it's raising. But now it is also pulling from the top of the grain bed rather than way down to the bottom. When I was putting it actually in the grain bed there, we were really close to the bottom. So, there we go, 152, almost. Come on, you can make it. So, yep, so there we go. So we're going to keep an eye on that dial. Yep, we got a captive audience there. That's what Brewers Helpers do right there. Oh my goodness, sleepyheads. Oh my goodness. Those two just got in a big fight the other day. Joaquin, the blonde pup there on the left, is new to the family. And you all know Finnegan there. Finnegan got his ears bit. He was bleeding a little bit. So he's being especially pathetic. Oh yeah. Oh, you being pathetic. Oh my goodness. So don't film me. Oh, the treatment. Oh, the executive treatment is so good, I tell you what. That's what it's like being a professional right there. Okay, YouTube, with that we are at our hour, so now we're going to do a little starch test, and I'm just going to take the kettle lid off here. This is the boil kettle. And this is the lovely part about it. I'm just going to hang it right here on the side. Boop, done. Got my bowl. We're going to pull a sample from here. I know you can't quite see it, but I'd shown it in the past. Doesn't look like a whole lot of grain particles at all, so I'll take it. Just some dollops right off the top there. I'm sure it'll swirl. Yep, there you go. A little hard to see. Pop that lid back on. I put the lids on just to kind of deal with the steam, you know. I don't need all the steam down here quite yet. So just a drop or two of iodine here. Oh man, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It's going to be real hard to see, but I'm going to kind of tilt it. Yeah, you can't really see it, man. I don't want to spill it, but you see all the brown dots. Not a bit of black, so we're good. We have our starches converted to sugars. So now what we're going to do is we are going to dial up the controller to do a mash out. I've never done this. Beersmith recommended a mash out at 168 for 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do, knowing now that there's I've got it set to 154, it's now reading 152, there's about a 2-degree delta. I'm going to set this for 170. So we just press and hold until it starts to flash. There it goes. 170. It's sitting, you know, this probe's now pulling 155. So yeah, it's just going to take just a couple. Oh, look, see, it's already on. It's rolling. It knows what it's doing. It's going to take a couple minutes for it to come up to heat, and then we're going to hold it there for 10 minutes, and then we'll shut the pump off, drain everything down, and begin our boil. So we will see you at the boil. Alright, so we are about at that point, and you can see the foam is starting to build up. We got a lot of steam going on here. Set this to the side for now. It's time to turn on our steam mitigation, and now's where it's going to get loud, so I'm going to try to get close to the camera now whenever we're doing anything. But we're already starting to get some ripple over there. It's at 205 already. It has been 6 minutes. So, here we go. Turning on the vent. And I do apologize, it is loud. I could, a YouTuber had mentioned that if I put the fan on the outside of the house, it mitigates sound and all that. Right now I'm more so just worried about making sure I don't steam the hell out of my plywood ceiling. So, cool. Alrighty, we're almost to the boil. So once we get to that point and start adding hops, we'll tune back in. Okay, YouTube, so I had to dial down the system over here on the controller. The controller, I had, obviously when it was bringing it up to heat, was at 100%. I switched it to manual mode, and now it's operating at 50%, and is still maintaining 211 to 212 degrees. So we're full on boil. at basically half the power, not half the power, half the timing of the element inside there. So you can see it is boiling very nicely. It's doing a pulse right now. Yeah, everything looks to be going great, and we are going to get our hops incorporated. So the first addition on this one is an ounce of Galena. Good old Galena hops here, and we're going to be using a hop bag, and this is something that I learned from brewing with Erik. A nice big old nylon bag. It works great, and I kind of have to ghetto clamp it to my handle here. I can't find any of my big metal clamps to clamp it to the metal, so we're using a good old Irwin quick grip on the side here. That's so ghetto, but it's going to work great. I know it. So now all we have to do is find a pair of scissors, cut these open, and we will get these incorporated. Hoppy. Going in the bag, of course, here. And I may switch over to a metal basket, basically, rather than using a nylon sack, but like this. It's worked great for Erik, so I don't know why it won't work great for me. Here we go. Dump those in. Ooh, reaction. Oh. Yeah, man. Oh, it's already starting to smell good. Alright, so we'll just kind of let that sink down in there. And then ghetto clamp it to the side. I cleaned this, of course. It had haunted house paint on it and stuff. I cleaned it. So that should keep it in place. So now we're going to begin the timer, and we're going to do a 30 minutes on this. I guess we'll grab the sheet here. Yeah, we're going to do 30 minutes on that, and then 25 minutes, and then the last 5-minute addition of Amarillo. So, alright guys, woohoo! We're doing this! Okay, just thought I'd give you a quick note here. So, I had the temperature down at, well, not temperature, the rate at which it was operating the element at 50%, and I noticed that the big foaming finally died off, so we made it past that hot rate. So now I've got it up to 70% of power. We're sitting at 211 to 212, it flips between them, and we're at a fairly steady boil here. It is definitely an aggressive boil, but you see it just powered up. Now it's powering back up. The way it flips on and off is maintaining that the temperature, which is what we're looking for. We don't need constant cascading, we need to maintain temperature. So yeah, just wanted to give you an update. We're now running at 70% of the power of the element. No foam, which is what we were kind of fighting there. You know, raising, you could see it went all the way up to pretty much 9.5 gallons. I was sweating it there for a few, but man, it's smelling delicious. So something's going good. Woohoo! Okay, so here we are, just added the last hop addition. I've got the valve hooked up here to our pump, and then pump, actually, I gotta pop this guy off. Glad I checked. Pop it into the work chiller. It's time to start sanitizing the therminator. And so the way Erik always did it was to basically boil it. So why not? You use the heat for it. So we've got the ball valve open here. This guy here, we're going to go full open. We're going to go full open on here, and in theory, there we go, there we go. Thinking about it. Yeah, looks like it's flowing just fine. Alright, I'm going to lower the bag here just a little bit, as I've got the little bit of extra space. There's a lot of stuff. See that? Look at all that delicious beer in there. Want to make sure it's not scorching or anything, of course, but make sure we've got as much surface area on there as we can. I know, this is so ghetto. There we go. So now this sucker's heating up like a bat out of hell. Don't gotta worry about the high temp hoses, of course, they're gonna be just fine. I'm going to take you off here and we're going to show you where that therminator is set. Oop. There's our boil. We got the bag in. Everything's open. Pump is operational, and we're sitting 204 degrees according to that dial thermometer. So it's hot. Wow, you can't touch it. So you see there's a little bit of a delta going on there, 208. We're going to crank it up a little bit. We're in like the last 5 minutes or so of the boil, so when it comes to boil over, we're probably not going to have a problem, but we do want to crank up that temperature so that way we get you know, boiling hot liquid through there to kill everything. Look at that, 2, 4, 6, creeping up on 208. Yep, this is going to take no time. Temperature reading is 209, and that's coming from this probe here in the boil kettle. So everything's looking good. Alrighty, we're going to keep pumping. Okay, we're at the end. Here we go. Kill it. Done. Off. Leaving the pump running, of course. Immediately the boil is gone. This is awesome. So what we're going to do now, it's recirculating. It's now time to begin the cooling process. So to do that, I'm going to move the camera so you can watch this. But as soon as we apply that water, it's going to go from 212 down to nothing. I'm excited. Okay, YouTube, sorry about that. So you can see we're a little bit below temperature, sitting 208, I believe, 246, yeah, in between 206 and 208 there. And yeah, I forgot that I needed to switch this output onto a sprayer nozzle I had and disconnect it from that side, the whirlpool thing on the boil kettle there. So yeah, we're a little bit below temp. I've got it heating back up just a little bit here, but you can see everything, you know, I mean, it's hot to the touch. It's been boiling now for probably 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the heat on that. I'm going to kill the main juice on the sensor and the PID. We don't need all that. So now I'm going to go hit the water. Both of these are tightened down. These are our water ends, and the pump is still running though. So you're going to see this is immediately going to fall down as soon as we get some fresh water applied. So without further ado, as I love to say here on YouTube, here we go. Water is applied. It's going to take a sec. Oh, there it goes. Look, the bubble just hit. We have super hot water coming out the other side. So that's measuring the work temperature, what's actually coming out, the output of the therminator there. Is that not insane? Absolutely crazy. So you can see we're at 90. That took what? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? Getting ready to hit 80. Look at that. I gotta grab my bucket. It's going so fast I don't even have a chance to grab my bucket. I love it. It's incredible. Is that not the craziest thing you've ever seen? I mean, seriously, that's awesome. We're sitting at 72 degrees. Stuff's flowing great. We could probably even increase. Well, actually, we'll just let that go. I don't want to mess it up. We've got it returning now out the top into a sprayer, so that got sanitized in those couple minutes under the heat. And yeah, so now we're just waiting on it to finally hit its point. Woo! Too cool. Science! So I believe we've hit a little bit of a temperature delta. It's still at 72. I increased the flow a little bit on the water side. Didn't mess with this. Well, I increased it just a hair, and so it popped it up. Now it's moving back down. We're shooting for just under 70, and we're coming up upon it now. We're at probably 70.5 degrees according to the dial. I was hoping to ferment this one at about 67 degrees, 67, 68, on the cool side, so that way it's nice and chill. So we're at 70. I'm gonna go grab my hydrometer, or not my hydrometer, my refractometer, so we can take a reading. It's still at 70, so I got a little bit of time. And with that, we're at 68. Perfect. I'm going to kill the pump, I'm going to pull this hose out, and we're going to begin the aeration process. This is my sanitized bucket, of course. A little bit of sanitary still in there. I'll throw it on my, I got a towel down there. So on the tip of this, we've got an aerator tip. You can see it kind of sprays out the side there. Let's see it goes. Check that out. See it? It just kind of fans out the sides. It's just jammed into the silicone hose, and it kind of sprays out the sides. I modeled this part of it after the way my friend Erik does it. It's always worked so well. I was like, well, why bother? Yeah, we're at 66 degrees. We can increase the flow rate, but now it's splashing up really bad. We'll just let it keep going. Wow. Gotta tell you, a March pump does not mess around. Alrighty, so here we are, cooled down, sitting pretty much right at the 5-gallon mark, which is pretty damn cool. Sanitized tester, of course. We're going to take a refractometer reading. And I hope everything lines up. Tastes sweet and bitter as hell, so that seems right. Okay, so just got that put down there. I'm going to look up into the light and we're going to see what we got here. We are at 1055 and the projected original gravity was 1060. So we're not too far off. Little bit of an efficiency drop there, and that could just be my technique. Maybe we had a little too much water. There is a decent amount of water left in the excuse me, in the boil kettle. So maybe that's part of it. But at any rate, I'm okay with that. 1055. We're going to get our yeast incorporated here, because it is sitting 67 degrees, edging towards 68. So it's exactly where I wanted it to be, temperature-wise. Get our yeast incorporated here. It's already been aerated, you know, the sprayer did that. Done and done. We'll pop our lid on here. And just like that, in no time, we're done. It just boggles my mind how quickly that takes place. It was like less than 10 minutes from when I started this part of the video. Craziness. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna get a. I'm actually gonna take a paper towel, pop that over there. I've got fruit flies in the basement right now, and so we're gonna just put that there to keep them out of it. And yeah, then we're gonna get into the fermentation chamber. Woo! Okay, so it is in the fermentation chamber. I've got the airlock in, sanitized of course. We've got our little third piece there, and this is some Star San I mixed up in a spray bottle, so we're going to use that as our liquid here. Boop. Boop, to the line. There we go. Rock and roll. And put the cap on. It's just that easy. So yeah, brew day went well. surprisingly, I didn't unhook any hoses in bad orders that caused me to burn myself, which I'm still pretty surprised about. So yeah, just got to clean it all up now, which I'm not going to bore you with. That's probably going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, outside of a couple learning curves, the PID and the auto program, not hooking up some water supply where I needed to, and then, you know, putting in the that sort of spray tip at the end there, you know, a couple little quirks like that, but overall it went great, I think. So we'll see how this turns out. 1055 starting gravity, not too bad. We're 0.05 points, wait, yeah, 1055 because it's supposed to be 1060. So 0.05 off. Yeah. That's not too bad. That's really not too bad. I still don't quite have the quirks down. It could have been the mash. It could have been extra boil volume. I did have a little bit of remaining liquid in that big bag we had, which drained down, so maybe that's part of it. Or it may just be a matter of dialing down the water a little bit. We'll check and see once we have this finished and fermented out, but it looked like it was actually just over the 5-gallon mark, which means given that, just over 5 here, and then probably another at least quarter to half gallon in there, I may be able to just reduce my water at the beginning a little bit and just nail those things every time. And Beersmith calculated this based off of Brew Easy's 5-gallon setup at a 70% efficiency. So, so yeah, that's where we're at right now. Still learning it. Probably will get it dialed in, I'm guessing, as we brew more. So the evil Amarillo IPA is in the tank. Next to come is going to probably be the Stout or the Saison, one of those two. It's summertime, or well, almost summertime here in Iowa. What are we? It is started June now, so yeah, we're coming up. We've got about 3 weeks until the official start of summer. It's going to be great. I'll probably do the Saison, actually. Probably do the Saison so we can enjoy that throughout the summer, and then very shortly after do the Stout so we can enjoy that shortly thereafter. That. So yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, YouTube. Thank you again to Spike Brewing for the kettles. Thank you, Erik, for helping me build the panel. And thank you, everyone, for your comments on how to run this thing the first time, and steam mitigation tips and electrical tips. You guys are awesome. This is exactly why I make these awesome videos. So if you have any questions or comments, please do post them down in the comment section. If you made it through to the end of this greatly long video, thank you, you're awesome. Please do check out DIYHomebrewSupply.com, my homebrew shop. If you are in need of anything for your homebrewing needs, we certainly appreciate any business you guys could send our way. We are a very small business of just 3 people, so and we're trying our best to be as competitive against the mega online conglomerates as we can be. But that's the way it rolls. You just make it happen. You gotta find a way. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment, share, all that hoopla. First brew day. Man, this went great. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. We, of course, are going to do a tasting. 3 or 4 weeks. So we'll see you then, YouTube. Cheers! 17.